Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Ideas Edition podcast. And I have a special guest today. He's actually in the house. He is with Idea Insurance, and he's been with the company for almost 3 months now. And I am so privileged to do this interview because he has poured so much value and knowledge to the organization since he's got started to work with us, and he's helping all of you that work with Idea Insurance to actually get better, increase your sales, and he's given a lot of our agents amazing tips on how to grow their book of business. So I'm so excited to interview him today, and so that you can actually learn a little bit more about what he's doing from the company. So his name is Ken Artigas. Ken, it's a pleasure to be with you today, and thank you so much for spending some time just getting out there and helping agents out.
Pleasure to be here, Jorge. I appreciate you letting me on the podcast and discussing what we can do for agents.
Awesome. So you are working currently as our sales lead, and you're responsible, for growing the sales of Idea Insurance, both 1099 and W-2s. But before we get into tips and all of that, tell us a little bit about you, man. How you guys started in the insurance business? Where you come from?
I worked for Bank of America for about 10 years as a banking center manager.
Wow.
Worked that for a long time. It was a good career. But I had the opportunity. I negotiated a deal for my church for a piece of land, and they gave me a little bit of money to open a food pantry and a ministry, nonprofit.
Awesome.
So I did that for 7 years, and that's great. That was great. But realizing I have 4 kids and a wife, food pantry is a blessing, but I need to pay the bills. So got hired by Optum. Worked for them in the Medicare field for 15 years. Liked Medicare because it helped a lot of people. It was a dual plan, so it didn't cost anybody. So it felt good about selling Medicare. That started my career with healthcare.
Wow.
Right? And then from there, I worked for a couple different companies as a sales manager, helping agents. Right? And then I landed here with Idea, helping. Probably we have over a couple hundred agents here with Idea, supporting and providing a lot of support for them.
Yeah, thank you, Ken, for providing that valuable knowledge. So over 15 years, more than that now in the Medicare space.
Yep.
Great knowledge, especially on the Medicare landscape, and that's valuable what you're bringing to the table. And I always say to agents, it's not only your experience selling, but what do you do before you get the sale? What are those steps, right? And I think that's where a lot of the agents, they fail because they don't know what are the steps to get to the sale, right? And you provide a great valuable insight about that. So tell us a little bit about that, Ken.
It's a good point. There's a statistic out there. It says 93% of people who sign up for insurance, whether it be life or ACA, 93% do not last for the first 6 months. They're gone.
Wow.
93%. It's that 7% that last, that are successful. And I believe the reason why the 7% are successful is because they have a plan. Right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of agents come get their licenses, and I'm not sure what to do next. But there's a lot to have a plan. That's the successful ones, right? The way they do that is in what we try and teach here at Idea is you first got to decide on what you want to be. There's 2 different ways you can go. You can be what's called a time investor, or you can be a financial investor. One of the 2. The financial investor is a type of agent, and you can do a little bit of both, right? The financial agent is the type who has a nice budget size that's going to spend money on calling for leads, taking events, online marketing.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to spend some money on marketing, and that's how they're going to be successful. That's what they're going to focus on for the most part. And then you've got the time investor, which is what a lot of people do. 9 times out of 10, when you're starting, you should be a time investor, really, so you can get your feet wet, right? Those people are the ones that go out, knock on doors, visit businesses, network, just go out there and grind, right? And that one needs a really big plan. You need to have a defined plan with that, right? So here at Idea, we teach the agents, okay, let's develop a plan for you, and then let's monitor the plan and gauge it every single week so we know you'll be successful. There's a lot of unique ways to be successful in insurance. But I think without a process, you're not going to be successful, right? And we set up that process with each individual. There's a ton of things from my 20 years in Medicare and ACA that I've seen agents do, right? And not everybody does the same thing. There's not one secret sauce
Yeah.
that makes you work out great. I've got agents that, give an idea. We've got an agent that visited about 60 ALFs, which are assisted living facilities, right? He went to 60. Said, hey, you know
A
what?
lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work. But guess what? They went to 60 and they get referrals from 6 every single month. 15, 20 referrals every single month. And that's how they get the book of business. They're phenomenal. And the way they did that was they went into the ALF, went to the social services person or the events coordinator and said, hey, my name's Ken with IDEA. If you have anybody that has a need for a Medicare, and I'd love to be able to sponsor an event. That's the key, right? With a lot of those things. Going in there, sponsored event, came every month. And then one thing also is follow-up. He followed up really well. So I taught him, hey, you need to go in there, see if you can sponsor an event, and then collect their cards. We got another agent that has thousands of cards he collects. That's all he uses for his book of business, right? Cards. But this agent collected cards, went home, 2 weeks later, sent the card, emailed him, and then a month later came back and said, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm here. If you have any events, here's some cookies. Came back the next month with 60 different organizations.
Wow.
In 3 months, started coming in with them. Coming in. And that's all he focused on he focuses on ALFs.
Yeah.
Those 6. And it started to expand, right?
Wow.
Because consistency is the key. They will forget about you. But if you're consistent and not too pushy, and you'll provide value, right? And hey, if you ever have any questions about Medicare, I don't need to sell anything. You've got a client that, a resident that needs help with Medicare, I'm here to help too.
Yeah.
So he's super successful with that. I've got another agent, right? I worked for a year for State Farm, largest insurance company in the nation. And they're all the locations are franchise locations. I worked for State Farm. They don't sell health insurance. They don't sell Medicare, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people qualify for
Home and
Medicare,
auto.
just home and auto.
Yeah.
So when I worked for Medicare, we didn't care about Medicare. But we had one agent that came in every single month. This was years ago. Every single month, brought cookies, a bag of different cookies and stuff. And he said, here you go, Ken, pick one.
Wow.
So I picked one. They let him in, pick one, and he said, here's my card. I'll see you next month. Right?
That's it.
And that's it, right? Who do you think I refer to for everything? State Farm sells one product, Humana supplement, and that's it. And guess what? We didn't care because we were selling cars. We were selling home policies and auto policies. He went every single month. Doesn't happen automatically. Consistency is the key. He emailed us every month. At mid-month, he stopped by every single month, boom. And he wasn't pushy at all.
Man, that's a great strategy. The property and casualty, visiting them and
yeah,
because they don't sell Medicare. That's right.
They don't. Independent ones don't sell Medicare, even ACA. And I will tell you what, you can do that in a ton of different areas. What I try and teach people is pick 2 different areas and be excellent at 2 different areas, 2 different channels. Whether it's, okay, my 2 focuses are disability attorneys, right? I'm going to focus on visiting them, all the disability attorneys I could find, and maybe the ALFs. I'm focused on those 2 and get really great in visiting those 2.
Okay.
Because once you're consistent with those 2, you'll be the expert in that area, that particular area.
Exactly.
Problem with the agents right now is they go everywhere. My friends, my family, everybody, and they burn them out. And then we're done burning out, getting 2 or 3 leads. What do I do next? Right.
Wow.
But there's so many, if you want, there's so many different areas where you can get consistent leads because you want to build a referral process.
Exactly.
Right? That's the whole deal. Disability attorneys. Guess what happens with a disability attorney? Somebody comes in, they say, hey, I need to file for disability, right? You say, okay, the lawyer says, okay, what? Some of them say, I need healthcare. We don't do healthcare because I'm filing for disability. I'm unemployed now. Well, what happened with the agent was, I can help you with the ACA, with the Affordable Care Act. So they got him with ACA, and they said, you know what? If they need help with Medicare, I'll be your resource for you with Medicare. So when they got approved for disability, they got Medicare. Right? I've got a couple agents that do that, and they do an awesome job. And why would the lawyers want that? Because it's just another service.
There you go.
And if they know there's somebody that they can trust, right, that can just take care of that area, I don't have to give them to somebody. I know it's going to be done right. They'll send them to them. And the lawyers don't get paid anything, right? They provide that value for them. Same thing with the nursing homes. I've been to a ton of ALFs. My dad's in an assisted living facility. That assisted living facility, anything Medicare related, questions or anything, they ask me, right? And that's a part of providing value. I don't have to sell everything every time to them, but that's part of what's providing value for them. So there's so many industries that you can go to. Even doctor's clinics. It's so hard to get into doctor's clinics. It's very hard. Well, I have one agent I work with. He sold a policy, a United policy, because the individual said, "Hey, listen, my clinic said to go with United policy."
Wow.
Right. So
The doctor pretty much.
yeah, the doctor said to go have a United policy. So what he did was he sold them United policy. He took it a step further. He went to the clinic, right? His Optum clinic. He went to the clinic, right? Said, "Hey, can I speak to Dr. Smith? Hey, Dr. Smith, guess what? I enrolled Miss Jones in the United plan that you mentioned would be valuable for her. I gave all her options. If you have anybody else that needs help with the United plan, I can sell them."
Wow.
He said, "Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'll send you all of them."
Yeah.
And that's another avenue. Clinics that way.
Yeah.
But you've got to be great in 1 or 2 spaces.
Yeah.
That's the key to being successful.
Love that. And be consistent. You mentioned consistency.
Yeah. Big time. Because you know what? You're not going to see results the first time you go. You may. It'd be a blessing if you did, but you're not going to see results first time.
Yeah.
Your first time you visit 30 different facilities or 30 different businesses of the same industry, you're not. But when you're there 2-3 months, guess what? They get to know you. They see Ken again. He's not going to really try and pitch me, but I've seen him a couple of times. "Hey, Ken, you know, I've got a quick question."
There you go.
I tell agents, when you go out there, we did a training yesterday on this for about an hour and a half. I tell them, "What do you sell when you go out there? What do you tell them you sell?" "Well, I'm a Medicare salesman." No. Tell them you sell healthcare, right? If somebody needs Medicare, great. I've got a team member that can offer that for you. Life, great. I've got an expert on life that can offer that for you. Why? Because you're help filling their need, right? And number 2, you can give it to an agent that does only Medicare, right? And that agent that does only Medicare will refer back to you. I had another agent. I told him, "Hey, listen, what you're going to do is you're going to call 40 Medicare agencies." He sells ACA.
Okay.
Call 40 Medicare agencies. I'd rather you just visit them and find out if they offer ACA. No, they don't.
Wow.
So he got about 10 of them that don't offer ACA. He went and visited all 10. "Hey, listen, if you need anything with ACA, I'm here for you, and I'll give you a referral for Medicare too." Right? Worked out fantastic for him.
Wow.
Now, that's the only space he's in because he's getting tons of leads. Same with the ALF. But he focused on that area, and he was consistent. He visited every month. He collected cards. You always collect cards. So he collected cards, and middle of the month, boom, "Hey, it's Ken. If you have anybody that has a need, or honestly, if you have any questions just about ACA, I'm happy to help. Have a great day." Collected cards, and they kept on getting the email. And at the end of the month, he came back in with some candy, a couple of things here and there, donuts sometimes, depending on what he was looking at. Just came in and was consistent, and that's it. It wasn't very hard, and that's a lot of what you can do to be successful.
Yeah.
Phone calls are different. Phone calls there's an art to a phone call, right?
Let's talk a little bit about the phone calls, because the phone calls, it's a way of also getting clients, right? But it's like you said, not everybody's fit for the phones.
No, and you know what? If you're a new agent, right, with phones, and "Hey, I want to do phones. I'm great at phones." That's great. What you want to start out, there's A, B, and C leads, right? A leads are the top of the line leads. Sometimes they're live, they're exclusive. B leads, some people have talked to, and then C leads are the old ones, right? You just have been a year. The B leads tend to be cheaper, $1.50, $1 or $2. You're gonna have to call 100 people, 200 people a day, to call them. Out of that 200, you may get 5 leads, right? Out of those 5 leads, you may get 2 sales. But you have to invest some money in that every single day. But again, if you're going the phone call route and you're new, you start out with the C leads to cut your teeth, because if you start out with the expensive ones, you will burn through a lot of money quickly, right? And that's an easy way to get you out of the insurance industry. So what I try and do with somebody who really likes to make calls, because it's not for everybody, is talk with them. Let's start out with C leads, right? You're going to have to make 150 calls. Set a goal for the day, 150 calls a day or 100. And then from those calls, you have what you can do. And, you get your leads, 5 leads or 2 leads. And then we discuss, even before then, we discuss how you're going to approach the lead, right? The worst I get, because I'm getting older, I get a lot of calls from people who want to sell, right? And the first thing I hear is, "Hey, how are you today?" And that's the cue for me to click, right? It's just goodbye. I'll see, because I know they're trying to sell me something, right? Or, "Hey, is this Miss Jones? Is this Mr. Collado? Is this Mr. Collado?" And then right there, you lost control. The first 8 seconds of every call is the most important part, right? So when I teach somebody about phone selling, I tell them, "Hey, the first thing you gotta do is have enthusiasm. because they do not want to hear somebody who's sounding like they're in a call center and they're just tired, right? So you got to have a lot of energy the first 8 seconds.
Wow.
And it's what you say too, right? I will start with, hey, hey, John. I'll try to say the first name all the time. Hey, Jorge, this is Ken with Idea here in Orlando. I'll use Orlando if they're in Florida or if they're not too far, just so they know I'm not calling from a call center in Nairobi or Bangladesh or wherever.
Philippines.
Right? Yeah, and the Philippines. Nothing wrong with them, but they know more. It legitimizes me more, right? And even during the conversation, I try and find a commonality. You know, hey, I used to live in Jersey. You know, and just find something to break them down a little bit. But hey, my name's Ken with Idea. And if it's an old lead, because I've called hundreds of leads, I apologize. I've got something across my desk. It may be old, so I apologize if it's old, but I received some information that you were interested in getting some more information about life insurance or health insurance, you know. Is that something you just want some information about? And then I wait for a second, see what they say. No, yes. Oh, you've already got it taken care of? And I'll expand, even if they do, I'll expand on them. Well, if you ever need something, a comparison or a follow-up date, I'm happy to help you or shoot you an email. I've been, and then I'll mention I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm not 20 here. I've got a wife and 4 kids. So, depending on whether I'll find a comment, I'll just try and break them down.
Yeah. Build that rapport, not sound robotic. I love what you said.
Yeah.
Hey, is this John? My name is Ken. Love that because, that's not normal, right? That's not what people do. So you're making a difference right there in those first 8 seconds.
Yeah, and you gotta sound genuine. I'll say, hey, Jorge, my name's Ken with Idea. The reason why I'm calling, and just right there, because what you have to do is you have to control the call.
Oh, that's important.
You have to control the pace, right? This is Ken with Idea Insurance, because you want to know if the lead is qualified or not within the first 2 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 minutes, you need to know if the lead is going to be good or not for them, or if it qualifies, it's a good fit for them. That's why, hey, this is Ken, and the tone makes every difference. This is Ken with Idea Insurance, with Idea. I'm giving you a call because I saw my desk and everything else from that. But you want to be able to control this conversation. Sometimes I'll get agents who say, "Well, people talk forever." And what I tell them is you got to control the pace too. And the way you do that is whatever they're saying, if they're talking, because they can talk their ear off sometimes.
Yeah. That could happen.
Right in the middle of the conversation, you say, that is great. That's great. Let me ask you a question. And that's it. Just break right in there. Just say, that's great. Let me ask you a question. All right. Yeah, I completely understand. Let me ask you a question. Boom.
There you go.
And that gets them off track, right?
And you take back that control.
And you take back control, but you can't let them go, 2 or 3 minutes or even a minute talking and into tangents.
Yeah.
But you've got to know within the first 2 minutes if that person is going to be a qualified lead or not for you.
Yeah. These are great tips because one of the things we're going to start doing for our agents is the call blitz. And these call blitz are designed for them to schedule appointments. So how important is that to help them grow the book of business, and how can they take advantage of this, Ken?
Yeah, no, call blitzes are huge, right? People are scared of call blitzes.
They're scared.
Yeah,
they don't want to grab their phone.
They're scared of they're scared of the rejection. Sometimes I'll call with them. Let me do the call first. You do the call second. I'll do the call with them. But I think when they're doing a call blitz, it's always better to do any type of call blitz in community. Whether it's, you're remote, but there's 3 or 4 different people. Doing it alone if you're new is not a good thing if you're alone. Mm-hmm. Call blitzes are designed, even with experienced people, to do them together. If you can do call blitzes together in a group, whether it's remote or not, or have somebody above you, your upline or your mentor, working with you, right? The person above you or your mentor, because there's got to be somebody that's got to be a mentor to you that's got that's got experience with that. They need to be listening and giving you positive feedback.
Wow.
Hey, Jorge, that was good, but why don't you say this next time they do this, right?
Yeah.
Just write it down.
Yeah.
Okay, way we can control that is, because that's the only way you're going to get better.
Yeah.
Right? And you typically, if you're new, you pick up the phone and hang up afterwards because you don't know how to control the conversation. You don't know the product. You don't know this or that. And if you have somebody next to you too as well with a call blitz and you're newer, they can provide support. You know what? I've got the Medicare expert here. Let me ask him. I got my manager here. Boom.
That's so valuable.
Yeah.
That's so valuable. So yeah, definitely agents needs to take advantage of the call blitz because I think it's a skill, Ken, that you need eventually. Trying to grow this your book of business in this insurance world is hard, right? And let's say you're an agent that you only focus on grassroots and you want to get in the community and that's how you run your book of business. That's fine, but if you're able to develop the phone skill, I think you can 10x your business so much faster, right?
Oh yeah, because you're going everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no limitation on
Yeah.
time, on place. You're everywhere. So yeah, it is a tremendous tool.
Yeah, awesome. So you gave amazing tips on how to grow the Medicare. Let's talk a little bit about ACA because you help a lot of ACA agents. How the ACA agents can grow the ACA book of business. What are some of those strategies that you have implemented before?
Yeah. So with ACA, of course, when you look at ACA, you think everybody can get ACA, but you want to target it to certain areas, right? Remember what I mentioned before, 1 or 2 channels that you want to work on. Really, you want to be deep and not wide. Not ask you can ask everybody, but deep and not wide. So that means, ACA, right? What I tell people with ACA, if you want to go visit businesses, great. Visit businesses that are heavy in 1099.
Wow.
Right? So, go visit 20 realtor organizations, make a flyer that says healthcare for realtors, right? There's a company called online. There's tons of companies called Poster My Wall. I make a flyer and then I change it. All the pictures are the same. And then I change it for whatever industry and put the benefits, whatever industry I think may be best for them. But I'll put, healthcare for realtors, healthcare for churches, healthcare for nail salons, anybody that's a 1099 in retail is a good opportunity, right? And you focus on that. We've done a ton of sales in the past with other organizations with unions, right? Tons of different unions. I've got a friend who's in a police union, right, in Seminole County, right? He's retiring in about a year. He's 52, right? He doesn't qualify for Medicare. And guess what? When he retires in his 50s, he's got to look for healthcare.
Yeah.
So he's got to get ACA, right? So we went. I contacted him and I said, "Hey, who can I talk to at the union for the retirement? Same thing with teachers, same thing with plumbers, same thing with electricals. Who can I talk to there, right?" And he gave me that guy, and I went with the agent, and all they do is refer people to him who are retiring.
Wow.
Because they're typically under 65 when you're retired for the most part.
Yeah.
Even over 65. I've got one that did over 65. The people in the unions that are giving them their packages when they leave, they don't care about healthcare. They're not focused. I assume with K. They're not focused on healthcare. They're focused on doing their job. So the people who are retiring, they're going to ask, "What's next? How do I get my healthcare?"
Yeah.
That's where you fit in. But again, consistency is the key.
Wow. That is so valuable. And we also talked a little bit about books that have helped you train agents and that have helped you personally. Can you mention some of those books that you have read? And
yep,
that's
Good to Great. I've read that many times. It's
Collins.
Yeah.
Collins, yeah.
He's great. I've read that many times. Good to Great gives you examples of how organizations went from C to A, to top of the world. Have done really well. They give a lot of examples on the things that they do different, right? Because that's the whole thing. You've got to do something different. You've got to find a niche for you to be successful.
Yeah.
And the activities that they do. I listen to a lot of Grant Cardone. He's my daily shot of adrenaline. Adrenaline start. Yeah. I am a big I'm a big listener of audible.com. Have you ever heard of audible.com?
Yeah, it's like the app where
do
audiobooks.
Yeah, so I 90% of my books I listen to on the way here, driving to work, driving to visit clients.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll listen to Grant Cardone. I'll just hit play, and it's him talking, and he's doing his book. So I'll put it on a certain chapter, and I'll put it on a certain chapter when I need to, and that just gets me going, right? You need that. I think every day you need that positive affirmation. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's so important, so important. And we also talk a little bit, what tips can we give to the agents in this industry? Because there's so many things, right? And we talk a lot about marketing, because I think marketing leads to sales, right? But also mentality, right? Positive attitude. That will help you, What other things can help the agents in this career?
Yeah, I think having a consistent process, if you're gonna, if if you do the activities, you'll get the results, right? So I focus a lot on activities. I focus my day. If my goal is to make 200 phone calls and I don't get sale, I made 200 phone calls. Right. I've made 200. I've done my part. Maybe I can do better with the phone calls a little bit, but I've done my part. So it's not beating me up, right?
There you go.
Don't beat yourself up. The most important thing is having a mentor. If you don't have a mentor to sit down and you're not knocking on a person's door, you're not going to be successful. Chances of being successful are a lot less, right? Somebody who's a mentor who's made money in what you're doing. Made a lot of money in what you're doing, and they're willing to invest time in you because they're going to make money too as well. Having daily goals. When I sit down with an agent or an agent calls me and they say, hey, I'm looking to go full time. It's okay. Let's talk about what that would look like. Are you going to invest time or money? What are you going to do? I'm going to visit businesses. Okay. Right. So, yep. So, okay. Well, you're going to visit business. Great. Okay. What's your plan to visit businesses? I don't know. Okay. So we have to put together a plan, right? And if you're going to do it part-time, great. But what's your plan, right? To do it part-time. Are you going to do it after work? If you work from 9 to 5, weekends, every weekend, or do you have something specific industry that you're working on? And then it's walking it out, right? If you say, hey, I'm going to be a 40-hour Medicare salesperson or a healthcare salesperson, okay, what does that look like? 9 to 5, and I'm going to walk 9 to 5. I'm going to go visit these businesses. Every single week. So you got to have a process. That's one of the most important things, a process, and then have the mental, and then a mentor, and then the mental, be strong mentally, positive, and just feed yourself.
Mentor's so important. Can you imagine doing this business without a mentor, someone to teach you? Somebody that got their license and,
no,
it's hard. Like you wouldn't be able to do it,
No, it's rare. And why would you want to? I mean, if I'm a baseball player and I'm trying to hit home runs, and I'm looking for the best home run hitter to teach me.
There you go.
And if he's getting part of what I get, great. It just gets me up there, right there. If I want to be a billionaire, you hang around with billionaires.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And you take their mistakes that they made.
There you go.
You learn all from that, not from yourself. It saves you a lot of money too. It just gets you successful a lot quicker.
It's so smart. And I tell the agents all the time, because I did not have a mentor, Ken, for my first 6 years in the business. And I struggled so much. Man, I struggled so much. Nobody told me anything. I had to figure things out myself. And after I identified a mentor and learned from that mentor, it was so much greater. So one of the things we teach here at IDEA to all of our agents is that they have a mentorship program through us, or through their leaders that were trained by us. And a mentor is not just someone that's going to tell you how to do things. They already been through it. So they're going to give you the best advice possible because they want your success. So that's a true mentor, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that, are training agents, but they haven't been in the field, or they haven't gone through the things that you have gone through or I have gone through. So having IDEA as that backup, that we're teaching from the front with our mentorship program, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I've sat down with agents, I've got agents that said, hey, I'm doing 20, 25 Medicare a month. That's great. I don't think I can sell anymore. And I was like, would you like to? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. And with that Medicare, have you ever talked to anybody about final expense? Guaranteed issue? How about the ACA you've sold? Have you talked to anybody? Because I noticed you do great with Medicare, but you haven't sold anything else. Well, I really haven't focused it on it all, And so we focus on that also. So there's a ton of opportunities. No matter where you're at, there's an opportunity with cross-selling with ACA, with ACA and
the
supplements,
but on that,
life. There's tons of opportunity. You just have to have somebody with another mind that can say, hey, here's the opportunity there. Here's how you can make more money. And that's what a mentor will do.
Yeah, and it's so valuable. Because what I've seen is, what took me 7 years to build, like a book of business, 300 people or 400 people, we have agents doing it in a year and a half.
Yeah.
A year, 2 years, 3 years, because of that mentorship. So I love that you mentioned that because I think that's one of the most valuable things we provide here, and of course training support, back office, and all of the stuff that we have as a company. Any final thoughts, Ken? Any final tips for the agents? I think that
If you're every day, if you're full time, make it a full time job. Do it for 40 hours. That's how you're going to be successful. The mentorship is important. Being in your lane, having two different channels that you just focus on those two different areas, whatever they are. I'm a former teacher. I know a ton of teachers. I'll go to the schools. That may be your channel, but staying in two different lanes, not just focusing on everything, having a mentor, and then having a consistent process. Those are the biggest things. You do all those 3 or 4 things, you will be successful. It's just a matter of time. I don't care how good or bad you think you are. Somebody's going to walk up to you and say, "Hey, I need some healthcare.
Yeah.
I just need something. Can you help me?" It's a numbers game, but if you stay in those, the leads will come. It'll take a little while, but it's better in the long run.
It is, and we have experienced it so many times.
Yep.
So I think the only one that fails in this business is the ones that give up.
Yeah.
So if you don't give up and you
Yeah.
have consistency, like you said,
There's a book called Failing Forward, right? I'm a true believer in failing.
failing forward.
Yeah. It's a book that teaches you that failing is not a bad thing. Failing is a great thing.
Yeah.
If you keep on failing, eventually, if I don't know anything and I call 400 people or I visit 400 businesses in a week or whatever, I am going to get somebody.
Yeah.
I will.
Yes.
I will get somebody. So you need to keep on failing and you'll be successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ken. It's been great.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And for those of you that listen to the podcast, stay tuned because we're going to have more tips for you and more information for you. But I think it's just been a wealth of knowledge here from Ken joining us. So it is a privilege for me having him as part of the team. And we're here to support you. We're here to support all of our agents. If you're still not an idea agent, make sure you reach out to us, share this information with other people that might want to get in the insurance businesses. We want to help you get to the next level on the insurance game, and we have all the support that you need to be successful. So that's all for today, and I'll see you next time.